Okay, since we're live. There we go. Hello, everyone. Hello, good night. It is a good night. It's cold in Dallas, Texas. I'm Kelly Coates Gilbert, and I am broadcasting with the fire going in the other room. And I put a sweater on because I'm actually chilly tonight. And I'm so delighted to introduce my friend and author, Pamela Fagan Hutchins. And I didn't even ask, do you normally go by Pam or Pamela?
I go by Pamela. Thank you. And hello. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Before we get started, let's just do a little bit of housekeeping. As some of you know, we're on a new platform called StreamYard. And one of the really cool features of StreamYard is that you post your comments on Facebook or on YouTube, and they show up for us here. But we won't know who you are unless you give permission for Facebook and YouTube to use your name. And from what I understand, when I hit that one button, it's supposed to give you instructions. But if by chance it's confusing, or if you prefer not to give Facebook access to your name, if you do post a comment, just post who you are so we can, talk to you directly. Anyway, let's get started with Pamela. Pamela is a US Today bestselling, multiple award-winning crime fiction writer who, I'm going to use my notes, who unravels secrets one thrilling page at a time. I love that. She is an avid horse and sled dog enthusiast. So she's going to talk to us a little bit about that. I went on her website tonight and I think I counted 9 series. So she's prolific and has a long storied history of making these wonderful stories. Her most recent series is the Detective Delaney Pace series, and it released this week. So tell us about that series.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to tell you about that series because it was the biggest release I've ever had. I did a lot of writing on this series over the last few years, and it was 3 books that came out at once. And for me, it was the very first time I've written police procedural. I'm a lawyer by background, and I've written legal thrillers. I've written recovering attorney, mysteries, more in the, I would think of women's fiction genre. I've written adventure mysteries that are kind of historical, but I've been scared of tackling that new domain of messing up law enforcement. So I turned to my dear friend, the police chief of Sheridan, Wyoming, Travis Koltiska, and said, can I put you on speed dial? Because here we go.
Oh, I'm excited. I downloaded a copy this morning. And so I had intended to read it before tonight. I just didn't get a chance because we had, I don't know about you, but they had that DMARC registration thing that we had to all do. And that just, technical stuff takes. So that took all day yesterday. It interrupted my schedule. But I want to tell everyone about what some of your readers have said about this series. Can't wait to turn the pages fast enough. Had me gasping more than once. I love that one. Here's another. It would be a crime to rate her books less than 5 stars.
Woo!
And here's another. I was on the edge of my seat waiting to see what was going to happen. So your readers love your books. And it sounds like to me that if anyone is holed up in snowy winter, cold, freezing, it's time to pick up some Pamela books and go on an adventure.
Well, there certainly are some of them that will make you feel warmer than others. Some of them are set in very cold Wyoming. You might want to save those for the summer when you're sweltering. But I do love writing about places and settings that have meaning to me. And so I've got 2 series that are set in the Caribbean. I met and married my husband in the U.S. Virgin Islands when we were both working there. So those made it into series. And then, I'm a Texas girl and a Wyoming girl by background. So I've got 2 series that are set in Texas. And I've got 4 now that are set in Wyoming, which is where we live as adults. So I do love to include the wild and the rugged and the beautiful and things like that. And I'm also, I'm a crime fiction writer, but probably, I would say fully 17, 18 of my books I would classify as having strong romantic and relationship elements in them. I just can't seem to help it. So it's kind of like crime fiction, you know, with all the feels, and yet still some of them with, you know, really nasty murderers and horrible
mysteries.
And mysteries. I love writing a good. I just love it. I love to read a good mystery. So
me too. I would imagine that your books reflect your adventurous lifestyle. I want to know more about this dog sledding stuff.
Well, one of them is trying to tear the back door down right now, one of the sled dogs. So my husband and I right now are temporarily marooned in Bakersfield, California, with our 2 sled dogs. They're Alaskan Malamutes, and they are away from the snow, and they need a lot more exercise. I took one of them off the treadmill just so we could do this this show, because they need a lot of exercise. But we have this beautiful old wooden dog sled, and we actually have a dry mushing cart that we use for the warm months as well. And it's super fun. The first time I went to dog sledding event, the dogs were so excited, and I'm such a dog person that I started crying, because it was like their joy was so infectious that I became so emotional. My husband was like, "Oh shit, we're getting sled dogs." I said, yes, we are. We're getting sled dogs. So they are working dogs. You have to work with them, but they're great. And well,
it sounds like one of them might be at your door, and you're welcome to leave them outside. But if you need to go get that puppy and bring her in, then you just do it.
Looking back there going, you hush.
Well, if you need to go get her, you do it. We're casual here.
If it sounds like she's taken the door completely down, I will, but she seems to calm down. Yeah. But they're going to make it into, I've got this series that is a former DA from Houston who moves to Wyoming with her husband, who's a vet. And she's a mystery writer / solves mysteries during the day. My agent pitched it to me to write the series and said, I want you to write, you know, a person who solves crime by day and is an attorney and writes crime by night. And I said, you're pitching me to me. And he's like, yeah. So anyway, in that series, we're going to have the sled dogs, and the second book of the series comes out this summer, and my crazy dogs will be in it.
You know, that segues to one of my my questions that I love. Which of your characters is most like you?
Well, it's probably, I have a series, the Michelle Lopez Hansen romantic mystery trilogy. And she is a former attorney turned nonfiction writer who lives in Texas. And she is the one that's most like me. And in fact, so much so that when I first wrote the book, my agent said, she's not likable. And I'm thinking, I'm not knowing how to take that. And I did not say she's based on me, but it was that I got too introspective about the things that, you know what I mean? The things that make me who I am, which is tightly wound, high strung, overachiever. Anyway, so we toned her down, and she's the one. She's very in love with her husband who passes away, and she's a amateur triathlete and a writer, and so she's just was all the things I was then. And anyway, she's fun. But there's an element, I don't know about you, but do you find that you include some biographical elements that you can bring a different piece of you to characters in different books? Because I
think almost every character is either me or someone that I know pretty well or have spent time with. You know, we channel people onto the page all the time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think the one least like me is the Delaney Pace books. And that's because I had such a strong model in my mind of who she would be. She's based on a friend of mine that is a former ice road trucker. I mean, talk about a kick-ass woman. She is incredible. And I wanted to write her into a book. So I pulled her out of ice road trucking and gave her a reason she had to come back home. And she's my detective Delaney Pace, but she's the least like me, Bob.
Yeah. And that's your new series, the one that just released, right?
The new one. Yeah, definitely. But it's such a strong role model for it that it feels like writing yourself, even though I would never drive an ice road truck ever.
You know, I have heard through the grapevine that you are are really skilled at crafting characters. And so a lot of my questions tonight were kind of character focused. Which of your characters do your readers love to hate?
Love to hate.
Mhm.
That, I have some really, really, really nasty bad guys in the Delaney Pace books. And I would say that taking it back to the series I was talking about earlier, Michelle Lopez Hansen, there is a publicist in that book that everyone just despises. She really takes advantage of Michelle and capitalizes and sensationalizes her husband's death. And I like to write characters like that start poking my characters in their soft underbelly,
Ooh, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my theory of writing is that you start on page 1, and that's going to be the highest point in that book until maybe the end. And then after that, it's every page. What can I do to make your life hell? Just worse, 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 worse. And then you get to the end and it's like, oh, take a breath. I think it's going to be okay. And then you go to the next book and you start over. But I didn't get that at first when I was writing. I thought, gosh, I want to write something beautiful, right? So life the way I would want it. But that really wasn't, in the end, the kind of books that I wanted to write. I wanted to write something a little more interesting than real life.
Yeah. And put your, one of the things, I took a lot of classes by a guy named Donald Moss, and he always says, make it worse, And if you don't put your characters through a little bit of hell, then it's not entertaining. So
Exactly. Real life is boring, if it's good. I mean, to me, the best possible thing would be peace. And that's not what I want to read.
That's not a story. Yeah. Like it says, who has been your hardest character to write about and why?
I would say, I'll flip that and say that my easiest characters are in the Patrick Flint series because they're my family members. It is literally my dad, my mom, my brother, and me when we were younger. Yeah. And so those were super easy. I think that
do they know that? Do they know that?
Yeah. My dad, who is fine now, got a cancer diagnosis of 3 months to live. And I dropped everything I was writing and said, okay, well, Dad, I'm going to write a book with you as the protagonist. And what kind of book do you want me to write? And so we sat down and planned it together. And this became what is now a series that's on its 8th book. And he is living with cancer and doing well. He proved them wrong. So those were easy to write. I think that the hardest for me to write are the bad guys. Like in Delaney Pace, for the first time, I'm diving into the POV of the bad guys in the books. And I wanted to be careful that I did not sensationalize bad things that people do at the same time as you get enough scare that it makes you really want these people to go away. And I don't relate to that as much. I have not personally serial killed anyone, for instance, and so there was not a point of reference for me. So I had to do research into different personality types. And I really took a lot of time with those characters, more than I wanted to, because I wanted them to feel authentic. And I don't know people like that in real life. So I think that's super that I don't live a life where I know them. I know plenty of nasty people. I spent a lot, I can hear that dog on the window. I spent a lot of years as an attorney where I was an employment attorney. And I have a company that does investigations into harassment, discrimination, things like that, sometimes white collar crime. And so I saw a lot of bad behavior, and that's always been super useful, but nothing really truly sociopathic.
You and I have a lot in common. I was a former legal investigator and did white collar crime, worked for the Justice Department and such. So it's a fascinating life. And you certainly encounter a lot of characters that you pull from. I mean, I can still remember all my trials and sitting there and watching the people. And in my head, even in the trial, I was thinking, what is their story, and kind of making one up in my head. So
yeah, I used to just keep notes on, the different things that made them especially despicable, right? It's like, I like that. I want to capture that somehow later. Yeah. And thank you. I hope I'm not saying your name wrong. Is it Licha or Licha, about my dad? Thank you very much. And I love animals in books too. Whoever just said that, I try to include at least one good animal in every book. Yeah. So in the Delaney Pace books, there is a French bulldog that belongs to the 11-year-old niece that she moves back to her hometown to take care of because her niece is orphaned. So she gets the girl and she gets the dog. And it's a love-hate relationship between her and this little terrorist.
Oh, Leisha, she said it's Leisha.
Leisha. Okay.
It's funny because Leisha, she's been on She's Reading a lot, and I never did know how to say her name. So I'm glad that's cleared up. So did you always know you wanted to be a writer? What was your journey? How did you become a writer? It sounds like you were an attorney for a while.
My third grade teacher told my parents that I'd be a novelist when I grew up. And I said, no, I really like to read books. I don't want to write them. I just want to read them. Yeah. But I knew that I wanted to write. I knew it was what I was gravitating toward, but it didn't feel practical. And so the law school thing intervened, but I kept writing the whole time. What about you? Were you always someone who wanted to write?
No, I didn't know I was going to be a writer. I mean, I think I secretly wanted to be a writer, but it wasn't. I took a more sensible route.
Yeah.
But it was my husband who actually pushed me when I was, we'd gotten the kids into college and such. And he said, if you don't do it now, and I just dove in, and I have loved it so much so that I went full time. I love it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It was my husband that pushed me too, when I was still saying it's not practical and I'm afraid of failing and no one will want to read what I have to write. I don't even know what I write. And so he bought me the big guide to literary agents and gave it to me for Christmas. And I'm like, what are you trying to say here?
Yeah. Are you a pantser or a plotter? And for those of you who do not know, it's kind of self-explanatory, but a plotter plans their novel before they write it, and a pantser kind of writes it and then goes back and looks at the structure afterwards to make sure it's right. So
very much both. I try to plot, and my characters hijack it, and I go off just pantsing away, and then I go back to the end and say, okay, there has to be more structure here. I literally then will do like percentage word counts, and I'm at 50%. Do I have this happening here? I'm at 70%. I need this. And this is the end of act one. This is the end of just really geeky stuff afterwards. And then I'll go back and edit based on that and say, okay, something had to happen here.
Yeah. I'm a very intuitive person. If I try to do a structure and that's in my head, the story shuts down.
Yeah.
So I have to just write the story. And then I go back behind me and look and make sure that the structure is just right,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When I was first starting, I used to do things like print out where you can print in book style, and I'd print it where you'd get multiple book style pages, and then I would tape them all to the floor, and then I'd get highlighters and mark where I needed major structural elements to occur, and the whole living room would be covered with taped down pieces of paper. So it was fun. I don't do that anymore.
That's a nice comment. I love the new.
Oh, yay. I don't know who you are, Facebook user, but we can be friends. There will be a book for. In fact, it was pretty funny. My editor on publication day, she's in the UK. Brilliant, Pamela. I hope you have a, fabulous publication week. And this is so exciting. And when can we talk about book 4? I need an outline. I was like, that's what you said to me when I woke up on pub day. That is not fun.
Yeah, but that's actually very good news. And looks like you've got some readers and an editor and agent that want your book. So that's good news. It's the opposite when it's not good news.
Yeah. I'm not going to complain, but I know what I'm doing this weekend. I'm writing outlines.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing to write? The first chapter or the last chapter?
The last chapter, because I hate first drafts so much that I just can't wait to be done. The other reason is this: as I'm writing, and it may be different for other genres, but for mystery, I feel like there are so many possibilities on page 1 that I'm not yet really firm about where things are going. And there's so many choices, and I'm constantly torn up about the direction to take it. The last 15-20% of a book writes itself, right? I mean, you know where it's headed. The characters, the voices in your head have spoken to you, and I just race through to the ending, and it's a wonderful feeling. It's like, skiing on a steep slope. You are going down, but in a good way. With a
do you know the answer to the mystery well ahead, or does that kind of come to you as you're writing it?
Sometimes, and sometimes I think I know it and I don't. I try to write a mystery where all the major characters would have some motivation, means or opportunity to have committed the crime, so that you can cast as much suspicion as possible and give people the satisfaction of really working to uncover the mystery. And sometimes I've telegraphed it too much, and I either have to go back and I have to lay the red herrings in and cover it up, or I get to the end and say, well, golly, it wasn't that person after all. I left it wide open where anyone could have done it. So guess what? It was this person. In fact, Kelly, I wrote a murder mystery dinner party script as a charity event for a museum in Bighorn, Wyoming. And I wrote it like that with the intention that every time we did it, we could pick a different bad guy. And we really don't have to change anything except which we say actually happened, right? Because any single one of them could have done it, and this is how, and this is why, but only one actually did. So that it constantly renews itself. So I try to do that with the novels too.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Diane says, do you dream about your characters?
Oh gosh, yes. I do. In fact, I think this is the same Diane that won a contest with my launch earlier. Earlier today, I think we found out. And she is going to name a character after her mother in one of my books. She was a winner.
Congratulations, Diane.
Woo! Carolyn. Your mother's name is Carolyn. Anyway, so yeah, I dream about them. And if I'm writing something like, let's say, yes, it is. Let's say that Delaney's being a real witch. Well, guess what? My husband is going to be treated to the unpleasant version of me when he gets home, because I internalize their feelings and everything so much that I do dream about them and I act like I'm them. And he'll say, what is wrong with you? And I'll want to tell him that I'm mad at him because of the things he did, but it's not really him. It's the fictional character.
Yeah, I take on the moods of my characters. I mean, it's amazing because they become so stinking real to me. So much so that when in my Maui series, when Lahaina had the fires, I was devastated. Not only for the real people, but I kept thinking, about the Briscoe family, and it was just hard.
That makes total sense to me. That makes total sense.
Yeah,
I was
going to do a little Christmas novella and kind of wrap that up for my own personal head, and I hope it helped readers. But it happens. They become real. We don't spend years, writing those books and not start to feel them.
Exactly. If we didn't care about them enough, we wouldn't be able to spend that time and write them. You write them because you care so much about them. So.
Yeah. Heidi wants to know how many books you've written.
So Heidi, as of the end of this year, it'll be 29 novels, 2 novellas, numerous short stories, and 6 nonfiction books. So full length, I guess that would make 35.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how that happened.
And you do nonfiction as well. I didn't know that.
It was something I did in the beginning. It's kind of silly, but for the really devoted fans that can figure out how to get them, they really like these. I was avoiding writing novels by writing narrative nonfiction, mostly funny stuff about my family. And at first I was putting it out on a blog, and it was popular. And so we put it in some books, in different topical books. One of them is called Hot Flashes and Half Ironmans, about, my 30s and my 40s and kind of falling apart and working my ass off at the same time. Anyway, those kinds of things. But I pulled them off Amazon because they were messing up my also bots. The people that bought those were not the same people that went and bought these other things. And so now you can only get them through my website.
Question for you both. Do you find when you were on a roll, you just keep writing until the wee hours?
I used to. Now it's much more scheduled for me because it is full time. But when I was trying to balance kids and work and everything, it was just whenever I could catch a minute. But when I'm really at the end and I'm super excited and into it, sometimes it'll still be like that. What about you?
I get too tired. I my husband gets up at 4 a.m. and I get up with him.
Yeah.
And so I have coffee with him. And then as soon as he's gone, I start working. And so my work is early in the morning. It's quiet.
Yeah.
I love it. That's my best time to write. And so, but that means I'm pooped out by the time nighttime comes.
That's exactly the same life I'm living. We get up together super early. And when he comes home in the evening, it's time to eat and go to bed. So
somebody says they love your books.
I love them back. Well, not my books. I love the Facebook user. Hi from Illinois. Hi from
Illinois.
Bakersfield, California.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in Bakersfield. I should say that nicer because I like the people here. Hi from Bakersfield, California.
I am loving this new platform where I'm able to actually see the comments. Some of you have been with me here at She's Reading for a long time, and you just couldn't do that with the Zoom call. So this is fun.
It's
really fun. But we are just about at the end of our time, and I want to do a couple of things. First of all, I want to tell everybody that She's Reading has a big announcement. I mean, we announced it last time, but we're going to announce it again, and that is that we've opened a YouTube channel. So I've taken all of our live chats from over the past 3 years and we moved them onto YouTube. So now you can go back and watch all of them again. Go to She's Reading with Kelly Coates Gilbert, and I'm going to ask a favor. I'm going to ask you to subscribe, because when you subscribe, YouTube shows them more. And I want all these authors to get as much exposure as possible. So go subscribe and also hit the notifications. And that way, if you happen to miss the notification on Facebook, you'll get it from YouTube and be able to see them.
Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And the other thing is there's a share button. So if there's any of these that you want to share on your book club or your book group or whatever, share away, So Diane says, yes, I need to go subscribe. And Alicia said, yeah, that's really nice. So go do that. And one of the things that I do, we're going to let Pamela tell about her giveaway. But one of the things I do is I always end these chats with what I call my rapid fire questions. And it's just this or this.
Okay.
And it really lets us get to know you a little bit. So rapid fire, chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Pie or cake?
Can we do them in layers like pie cake? Cake or...
Yeah.
I think pie.
Okay. Beer or wine?
Wine.
Stilettos or flip-flops?
Flip-flops.
Oh, dawn or sunset?
Oh, I really, really love a beautiful sunrise. So dawn.
Yeah. Swimming or walking?
Walking.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Me too. Cook or takeout?
Gosh, depends on the mood. Cook.
Okay. Campground or resort?
Resort.
And the last one, flowers or massage?
Oh, massage.
Yeah.
Some of those are hard.
So let's let you tell all of our viewers tonight a little bit about your giveaway and what opportunity they have. And just so you know, if you have commented in any way on the Facebook or the YouTube channel, you're entered to win. So.
Okay, I'm going to give away the 3 Delaney Pace books, Her Silent Bones, Her Hidden Grave, and Her Last Cry. And they're going to be the Kindle version. So you'll be able to receive them via email, but you'll get all 3 books. All I have of this protagonist so far, and I'll be going through all your comments and picking a winner. So the more comments you leave, the more likely it is that I'm going to see your comments and
That's right.
declare you the winner. When I do that, I will also tell you how to win, which will be, so this is what you should watch it to match in case there's any scammy spammers out there. I'm going to be telling you to email me at pamela@pamelafaganhutchins.com so that I'll have your email address and can send you the books. If I don't say that, it's not me.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have had some real doozies of some scammers who try to put comments and yeah.
It's the
always the people that are just doing nasty things.
Mm-hmm.
seems like there was one more thing I wanted to, I'll think of it when I get off of here, of course. But anyway, so Pamela will pick the winner tonight. But if there's any questions that you want to ask that I missed, go ahead and put your question in the comments and she'll go answer. And absolutely. I really, I'm so glad that we're bringing these back. I took a little bit of a sabbatical last fall, but we're doing these about every 2 weeks now. So be watching. And again, go subscribe to that YouTube channel. So
awesome. And I'll have to do that too. And I look forward to being able to have you over on Crime and Wine, my podcast with me here in I guess it's a month or 2 or 3.
That's what I wanted to, that's what I was going to do. Tell them where to find you. Tell them your website address and about your podcast, all the other places they can connect.
Okay, cool. My website is PamelaFaganHutchins.com, and you can get either the books themselves in all the formats there, or link to where you can find them. And you can also, under the About Pamela tab, find my blog where I tell stories behind the story and kind of insider stuff. You can sign up for my newsletter there, which is, something where you can get a free starter library of short stories and novellas. And you can also find the Crime and Wine podcast there, which is where I talk with other authors about suspense. Oh, thank you, Patty. She says Crime and Wine is great. Yeah. Namaste. And join us for those chats, which will feature Kelly Coates Gilbert here in a couple of months.
In March. Yeah. March. Someone asked what the name of the YouTube channel is. I will put the link when I get off here. I'll put the link, but it's She's Reading with Kelly Coates Gilbert.
And my YouTube channel, you can find on my website, or it's just under my name, Pamela Fagan Hutchins, and then Crime and Wine will be one of the playlists on there.
Subscribe to that as well, because like I said, once you subscribe, YouTube seems to do its magical thing and get these out there. So we appreciate all you guys. Thank you for being here. And we're going to wrap this up tonight, and put your comments in, and then Pamela's going to go over and answer questions and award her prize. And I'm kind of amazed. She gave all 3 books in her series. That's amazing.
There will be more, but you're going to have to wait for them.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. We'll see you soon.